A few years back, I took a tool holder, or a Cat 40, yeah, tool holder, and put it in my milling machine, angled the head, and put a lathe tool in the vise, and made what I thought was a taper. Well, I've been working with this, and it keeps coming out of the taper, and I guess I'm a little bit slow, but I just kept reusing it until finally the other day, we're talking 25 years later, the other day I decided to start investigating this, and what I discovered is this is a J33 taper, and it fits in with a little bit coming out. It's just like 5 thou oversized, and mine's not oversized. It's just not a complete taper. It should come all the way up. It's not an inch long. The Jacob's taper is an inch long. So I'm not even engaging all the way, and it's not really a good finish. So, oh, by the way, this is a gigantic valve out of a gigantic engine, and you can see it's bent, it crashed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, well, you can see it's too small, so I was going to take another tool and butcher it, but I don't want to do that. So I'm going to weld this up and then go from there and see what happens. So this ought to be interesting. And what I intend to do, well, I was thinking what I could do is put this back in the mill and make a fixture for the tool post grinder, and mount the tool post grinder to the table, and then I have a test bar that's like a foot long, and I can set up this head so that it's accurate to the angle of the Jacob's J33 taper. So what I could do is put that thing back in the head and grind this with a tool post grinder, but I am going to put it in the lathe because I don't feel like doing that. And so what I've done is I've got this old chuck, ancient chuck, and I modified it so I can clamp it down to the table, and I have to grind the jaws because they're really banged up and they're tapered and they're a mess. So I've got a ring that I'm going to weld up, and it'll, yeah, that's pretty much the way I'm going to. Oh, and the reason I'm doing this is so that I can chuck up a center drill. I'm going to chuck up a center drill, put this into the machine, and turn it that way. I've made a balanced lathe dog so I can turn this at a relatively high speed because I can't grind it. Grinding wheel won't make it up. I can't. There's a center here. The wheel won't come to here, so I can barely even cut it with a lathe tool. And these are giant half-inch because I need to make a lot of contact because there's a thread in there. This also serves as a ground block for when I weld this. So, okay, I've just centered this chuck on the table and then dialed in this gauge pin, and so everything is completely centered with the quill, and my intention is to I'm going to weld this taper, put this up into the machine, and because that's the Cat 40 taper right there, so it fits right in, and then drill the center this way. All right, we've got our welded up taper, and it's time to put a center in. Went pretty well. I got 3 30-seconds rod, and I shouldn't have. I don't know why. It was just out of habit. I should have gone 16th. It would have made it probably a little easier, or better. Okay. All right. There's that to go there. Okay. Okay. 0.17. Actually, let's see. Touch, that's 0. Cool. And then I gotta go up 0.17, 0.175, and no more. Okay. Yep, that stays locked. Work. It's small, but they're using small on the other end. It's like a number 1, 2, I've forgotten. Right, okay. All right, we've got this thing set up with the dog. Oops. Okay, and orientation of the tool, the first roughing tool, and we've got the taper attachment set up. Now the only thing is, this has about a ½ inch worth of travel before it takes up the backlash. And since we have to deal with another issue, I can't use the cross slide, so I have it locked, and I have to use the compound. So I'm in here cutting. Then when I'm done, I have to go beyond the starting point by about a ½ inch, which means I have to back I've got to back this slide out about 3 turns, make it all the way back to here, so that by the time I get back to the starting point, we're tapering again. We're touching the taper attachment. So then I got to go back in 3, set it to 0, and go. So it's going to be fairly tedious. Wow. 15 thou looks like a lot when you're... Actually, that's not even 15 thou. Okay, this is pretty hard metal, I guess. I'm only taking like 10. But that is off of each side. Yeah. Well, we're down to the size, and it hasn't totally cleaned up. I'm not really likely to go back and weld things. Well, we'll see what happens. I can pull this thing out since it's in centers, throw it in, and give it a look and see how it... Yeah, well, it ends up that we're there at the right size, and I still need to clean the thing up, so... I'm not inclined to go welding on the thing again. I'm going to use it, see how it works. I thought I padded the thing with enough weld. I mean, we were only talking a couple of, a few thousandths. Huh. Actually, wow. I'm going to get close to where I was before. It's going to be close up to this, but, Okay, so let's go pull it out and look. Well, the decision has been made for me. It's already too small. Back to the welder. I'm really surprised. Or it's hitting the bottom. Wow. I'll have to go check on that one. I don't think it is. I think it's... Well, it's hitting something. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to go back to the welder. This kind of sucks. Let's try this again. The reason I put the center in there after welding it was because, yeah, distortion. And so it probably doesn't matter. I mean, this is just going on a tapping head, which is floating anyways, but... Yeah, I don't know what happened. Well, this isn't too bad. I mean, I'm within less than 1,000th, so evidently my center didn't move very far, which I find really hard to believe. But I did it in segments, cooling it down in between, so I don't know. Well, I cleaned it up. I've got enough meat on it this time. I've cleaned it up. We still have quite a bit left to go. So let's see, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to take 10, and then I'm moving over to a different cutter. In fact, I should move over now, but I'm not going to. I think I'm gonna get it this time. Yeah. Right. Just to the end. Okay, different cutter time. Okay, now I got the new finishing tool. I've only got a few thou left to go. And I just want to touch this off. Take a cut and see where we are. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh man, I hope we got this. 5. Let's go back to 0 and just see what we have. Okay. Okay. We're a little under, which is just zoom along and see what happens. All right. Still not touching all the way. Just barely touching. So it's funny, it wasn't touching at the first, but now it is. I'll tell you, this taper stuff is weird, man. And I don't know how far I can go. I can only go to right about... Okay. So that's 0. Okay. Okay, right now I'm like a little bit big. And I'm pulling this thing out. I've got like a thou left to go, but I'm not cutting a thing. I want to throw it in here and see what it looks like. Okay. Something tells me we could go with this. Wow, I've got room now. It was shoulder to shoulder. Whew, okay, success so far. So there we go. Jimmy Dore in the background. Yeah, not bad. I mean, you need to touch this end up a little bit, but and it's big, which is good, because I can always clean it up later. So I guess I'm going to file a little of this on the end and call it good. Yeehaw! So now that I'm done measuring this, I'm completely confused again. A J33 taper is 0.5605. You move an inch and you get 0.624. Well, I'm like 10 thousandths too small on the big end. It fits and it feels tight, and the taper attachment is good to a 1/2 thou and 4 inches. I mean, the math in this is trivial. You just take 0.624 minus 0.5605 divided by 2, and you get the amount of movement that you should have over an inch. So, I don't know. I don't know what the ending of this is, but the measurements don't work out. I'm going to try it, see if it works, but I feel kind of silly. I don't know what I'm missing. I don't know where this is going wrong. Oh, I think I figured it out. This is not exactly an inch. It's 0.964. And by the time you actually get out to 1 inch, because if I actually measure the end of this, it's 0.619. So, yeah, it's a happy ending.